Welcome back, guys. Today we're tackling headers on the Blazer. We're going to show you how to go from this to this. We're just going to hop right into it and start pulling these old ones off. So to get this metal bracket off, we have to remove the power steering reservoir. And to access those bolts, we have to remove the power steering pulley. So this is from AutoZone. It's a generic Ford, GM, Chrysler power steering puller. Say that 5 times fast. So basically how this works is there's a little collar here that you slide off, and then you can clamp, oh my God. And then you'll clamp these around this thing, slide the collar back on, and then just give that a few turns to take all the slack out. Alrighty, and then holding this guy, what you want to tighten this so the bolt pushes against that and pulls the pulley off. So whoo! Jeez, oh Pete's. Okay, then you can just set that to the side. Now we have access to these 3 bolts holding on the power steering pump, and those are 1/2 inch. Oh, now I'm pissed. It's okay. Bracket's off. It's all good.
It's all good.
Well, I guess I'm gonna put this back. So on these two, we still have these little metal brackets that have tabs that fold down over the nuts, but it's real simple. Just take a flathead screwdriver, pocket knife, something sharp, and get underneath those, and you can bend those up. Now you can get a socket on it. We've got another one over on this side. And I think that ought to do it. So now grab our 9/16 socket, and that fits on there. Yep. Now, full disclosure, I loosened all the other header bolts. I hit them with PB Blaster and let it sit overnight. These ones I haven't tried yet, so if we're gonna break some off, it's gonna be one of these two. But my tip for this is grab a breaker bar, and you just have to go slow. It's not gonna be a gunning it off situation for this. And as soon as you feel that bolt start to break, you tighten it back down all the way. And that's the secret. And you just slowly work it out, going back and forth. Until you're pretty sure it's coming out without breaking. All right, I think that one's spinning, so we're gonna go ahead and break this other one. And I pulled out those first two. I could have held off on those, but you definitely wanna get the hardest ones to reach next before you remove the last bolt. Oh boy. Okay, and you can set that to the side. Cool. So, next thing I'm gonna do before I start pulling spark plugs is I'm going to do a test fit of the header. So, if you guys haven't noticed, these have been hanging in the garage for like 4 years, so let's see. Man, if it's the oil filter that does me in, I swear. Gonna try putting them in through the bottom. Now, I'm gonna recommend you wear safety glasses if you're doing this under a car that's rusty and been to the beach as many times as this one. And if you don't understand why, then, well, you will. Some more wiggle room with it started there. So it looks like it's getting sandwiched between the firewall here and the drive shaft, the tip of that bolt right there. So I guess if I could try and rotate the drive shaft to get it past that, or I could take a big hammer and hit the firewall. Yeah, it's real close. So we're gonna do a little, what I like to call dent tuning. We just need to make a little bit of room right here at this corner. So we'll be gentle, you know? Oh, that's not gonna fit there. Yields. So it's getting pinched between this bolt here and the corner right here. I think once it's up in place, that won't be an issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bolt out to at least get it in there, and then see if we can put that back in and make it work. Oh, even better. Oh man, we might be making it. It's okay. Who needs an oil filter? We'll do a delete. Take you guys through that process. Well, so the issue is it's got to come forward at least 2 inches, which would, in theory, clear that tube. But then it might be a pain every time I want to change the oil because the headers are so close. Okay, I'm going to pull off that oil filter and see if I can get them on with it off and if I can get the oil filter back on. It's going to drip all over this. So, see, now that's just too easy. Okay. Yeah, hits the drive shaft. Okay. Big time hits the drive shaft. Okay, right now I'm thinking if we hit it a lot with a big hammer, it'll probably fit. Unfortunately, this side is going to take more than a hammer to fit, so I'm going to come back for that later. For now, I'm going to hop over to the other side and work on that. And then just like the other side, we've got 6 bolts to remove this exhaust manifold. Go in. And there's the other side. Since I've already test fit the header on this side, I know we have to remove a couple extra things here. So we've got the dipstick tube is going to be in the way of the new headers. It'll be able to go back in between some of the runners. But for now, to get the manifold in there, it's a 10mm bolt right there. And we're going to remove the dipstick and set this somewhere clean. And then we can gently wiggle it back and forth and it should slide all the way out. There we go. And we'll set that next to the dipstick. And then we have one more bracket on this side here, which is also a 10 mil. Set that right there for now. Before we install the header, we're gonna use a small wire brush or something like this and clean out all the holes we're gonna use to bolt up the header. If you are able and wanted to spend the time to chase those threads with a tap, that's a great idea. Just clean up all the threads, but this usually works pretty good and it's gonna get out any kind of gunk out of there. And so basically to do this, it's real simple. You just stick it in one of these holes. Dang, and it's that easy. And we're gonna end up using anti-seize on the bolts that we thread in there, and that's gonna make sure those thread in really nicely. Next, I like to grab, oh my God. Next, I like to grab a little brake clean or acetone, paper towel, and either plastic scraper or razor blade. If you're careful with a razor blade and don't gouge any of the surfaces that are gonna be mated together, you should be fine. And it's usually a lot quicker. So what I'm gonna do is just take the razor blade and all these surfaces where there's built up carbon and it's all rusty, I'm just gonna go through and scrape all those off so it's nice and flat when we put our new gaskets on. And because our valve covers were leaking so bad, this whole side of the block could use a pretty good degreasing, so we're just gonna go ahead and let her rip. And clean off all that stuff we just scraped off and get ready to put on the new exhaust manifold gaskets. So we've got our nicely wrapped header. Everything should be out of the way. No, we're going from the bottom. Boom. Okay, so we got that started from the bottom. It was just a little bit easier. Now we're here. Good one. All right, so that's gonna line up just like that. We'll set that right there. And real quick, we're gonna grab, this is Permatex Anti-Seize. You can buy just little packets of it. It's probably enough to get this job done. But if you think you'll use it again, I would go with the big one. Man, that is in the worst spot. And we're just gonna take a little dab of anti-seize and put it on the base of those threads. And what we're actually gonna do is get this put up into place. And we're gonna pick, I like to start with the middle and then try and get the back if I can and save front ones for last. I guess you can do whatever you want. And we just need to get these started and then we can put our gaskets on. Oh man, it was too easy. All right. So we've got all 6 of our bolts with some anti-seize on them and I just got them started. So if you take a look here, we can actually pull the header away from the head a little bit and that's gonna give us just enough space to slip our gaskets in. So we've got our gaskets, and if you'll notice, this has a metal face on one side and some fiber on the other. This fiber part, the not metal part, is going towards the engine head. And you'll notice none of these are the same. So this is gonna be your front one, and that's gonna slip right onto these 2 studs, like so. There's gonna be our middle one, and it'll just slip right in there. And this is gonna be the back one, and this part, there's 2 bolt holes depending on year of your car that could be used. So we can just go ahead and drop that guy right in there, and those should be lined up. So now we can go ahead and get those all hand tight, and then we'll torque them down. And some of them we can get to with the gun. Some of them we're gonna have to do with a ratchet. And unfortunately, some of these we're gonna have to do with a wrench. A regular box end wrench, I'm afraid. And all these guys are gonna get torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. And we're gonna make sure they're all pretty tight before we actually torque them. So only two we can't get. Oh, I can get to that one. Okay, so that's the only one I can't get to with the torque wrench. So we're gonna have to do it by feel. And I'm gonna see how tight this is. It's pretty tight. We're just gonna get as tight as we can with this and call her done. Alrighty. Whew. All right. Now we can go ahead, reinstall our dipstick, but we're gonna wipe off this end because there's a whole bunch of nasty oil. It is clearly leaking from that. We're going to address that when we do the oil pan gasket, but for now, it's just gonna be the way it is. I'd probably, if I was you, dip this end in a little bit of oil. That way you don't cut the rubber gasket that this seats into, but you know, you do you. And just gently work that in there. If it doesn't go in, it is probably at the wrong angle. So just adjust the angle and it'll just slide right in. And we can reinstall our other bracket, and we can reinstall our dipstick. Now that the passenger side is buttoned up, we're gonna move back to the driver's side. I wasn't planning on cutting and re-welding 3 of the runners on this side, but I got a really good price on the headers and I learned a lot in doing it. So let's get right into the install. Next step is we're gonna grab 2 of these bolts, put a little bit of anti-seize on there. A lot of anti-seize on there, I guess. Grab our header. Carefully slide this Johnny into place. There we go. And start this guy. Oh my God, I almost forgot to mention. So this bracket we removed earlier. You don't really have to remove it, but I pulled it off and I decided I was just gonna trim it. And so I just ran right up the side here and then hit it with a quick coat of paint and put it back on. And we're gonna go ahead and install our gaskets. And put that oh. Yeah, like that. Now that that fits, we can start it up and see how it sounds. Ooh, fog machine. Well, yikes. Definitely needs new spark plugs. Definitely needs some timing adjustment there, but it started. So that's where we're gonna wrap it. If you guys like the video, like the video. If you want to subscribe for more, and we'll catch you on the next one.